There are so many things I would have done differently if I knew better when I decided to start Not So Super Publishing. So today, I'm going to share with you those things on this episode of
Slow Down.
Hey everyone, it's me, Jock. As I said earlier, I'm trying my best with these podcasts to try to give those of you who are seasoned creatives and those who are new to this whole thing some information on how to do things in a way that reduces stress for you as a creative or an entrepreneur or someone who just makes stuff. I just want a podcast or a show or something that gives you some information that kind of helps you move forward without stressing yourselves out. Because I feel like there's this new push to make you stressed, to make you tired and make you exhausted and make some very dumb mistakes and spend a lot of money trying to get somewhere. When in reality, all it took is for you to be patient with yourself and work a little bit smarter and not as hard as we always end up doing. So my goal for today's podcast is just to kind of give you a glimpse of some of the potholes I hit along the way as I decided to start my own publishing company called Not So Super Publishing. For starters, let me tell you what kind of publishing company that I have. It is one that really focuses on all age type products. I mainly work with artists. A lot of my stuff is pictorial related, so they're comic books or children's books or, a zine with a whole lot of art. I work with artists most of the time, so it's not just me writing things. I also work and hire lots of different artists to make these stories happen. So when I started this thing, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was followed the money, not the craft. My goal wasn't necessarily to become rich, but my goal was to make enough money to make this project self-sustainable. And in doing so, I spent more time chasing money than being better at my craft. That is the biggest regret that I had because I wanted to make comic books. But in order to make comic books, I needed to pay artists. But before I even went to the point of paying artists, I should have finished writing all of my stories before I started going this whole route. But I was afraid when I started this project. I was afraid that the time that I spent writing and honing my story and creating the craft and doing things better, I was losing the opportunity to find an artist and secure somebody and have it look like something and get a customer base and grow that customer base and be able to sell them. And then by seeing them like my work, then I will know that it's worth me continuing working on it. So my goal was really to create a business over being better at my craft. And honestly, now 8 years in, I wish I focused more time on my craft over focusing so much time on the business aspects of things. Because I enjoy the craft portion. And in those times of stress, I should have spent that time on the part that I enjoyed the most, rather than stressing myself out twice as much trying to worry about finances and paying people and paying for products. I should have just focused on the part that I enjoyed, the craft, the part that I didn't need to pay anybody, the part that was free. And a lot of us do that. A lot of you creatives probably do that. Instead of drawing that book, instead of planning that book out, instead of writing that chapter, you are over here already planning how you're going to incorporate your company. You're over here already setting up, figuring out how you're going to pay artists. Or instead of drawing your book, you're over here already trying to figure out how you're going to get it printed and what company you're going to use. And you're trying to set up a store for your thing instead of honing your craft. Instead of drawing a bunch of mini comics and just keep doing it and just improving on the craft, you are focusing on the business, and it's not time for you to focus on the business yet. So my number one thing I would like to tell you before I keep going is crawl before you start running. Crawl, then walk, then run. Move at the pace in which your life allows you to move. Don't rush it. Rushing it ain't gonna make you better. In the world that we currently live in, there's always this perception that you are losing out and that you are missing this opportunity. But the longer I've done this, the more I find new opportunities that I wasn't even aware of. Every day, there's a new opportunity that pops up. You're just gonna have to work and make sure that you are ready for whatever opportunity comes before you. Don't go in an opportunity when you're not in a spot where you're ready for it. Or if you want to jump in an opportunity when you're not ready for it, it's fine to plunge in. But don't put yourself in a situation where you are paying money to do something that you're not ready or good at yet. Because if you're paying money, you're just pretty much paying money to learn a lesson, which is cool. You can pay money to learn a lesson. If that's the type of person you are, that's fine. But if it's free opportunities, take on all the free opportunities you can. If it's an opportunity for you to write something in your newspaper, send something in your newspaper. But don't waste money. Don't waste any of your money on stores, on a study session with someone online telling you how they can find you a loophole. No, don't do that. Don't waste your money. Work hard. Put in those 10,000 hours and become better at your craft. That is my first tip for you. The second thing I wish I knew before I started, to not follow the internet hype. That's the biggest thing I wish I knew. I wish I knew not to look at social media, to cut it off and do my work the way I wanted to do my work. To not be influenced by other people's decisions and how they do their work, and not try to imitate other people's way of doing what they do, but figure out what rhythm, what way I work, and work that way, and not look at others and how they function. Because many a times, you sit there and you look at an entrepreneur, a creative, someone who makes stuff, and you have this perception that you both are living the same life, and you should be able to do what that person is doing. But little do you know that that person has somebody who is helping them fund their projects. You don't know that piece. While you are by yourself trying to work hard and trying to be like them, you do not know what factors helps them be successful. So you cannot always go by what you see online as a role model in terms of how you should be conducting your business. You should be looking at your own life, how you live, and tailor how you do your projects based on how your life is going. If you do not have a whole bunch of people who are able to fund your projects, find free ways to make your projects happen. Find ways to reduce your costs. Find ways to collaborate with people. Create friendships and relationships with people that can help you produce what you're trying to create. But don't go with what you see online. Don't go by what you perceive, by how you think other people are working, because that's the surefire way to stress yourself out. So, that's something you have to think about. That's the second thing that I wish I knew. Not to look around me, not to be duped by what I saw on social media online, because that is everybody's highlights reels. People seldom tell you on social media all the various issues that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. They just show you the highlight reel. So you have to be wary of that and work based on your means, based on where you are in life, and move at the pace that you're comfortable and ready to move forward with. The third thing that I wish I knew before was not to waste my money on anything. Find all the free opportunities that I can to work on something. Don't run to go to conventions and pay for tables and when there's a free library convention down the street. Don't spend a ton of money on boot supplies, on a table tent and all this stuff, when just putting it on a table, going to a dollar store and just having a frame or having a book holder at a dollar store will be just enough. Don't spend more money than you need to on your projects. Don't. Don't go get consultants. Don't just learn. Just make mistakes. Create small things, small projects that you can knock out. Don't start on that epic book. Don't do something that is so big that you will give up because you do not have enough skills to be able to complete. Do small things that you can be proud of. Start bit by bit. Save your money. A lot of people out there are going to tell you they can help you boost your views on social, or they can do all these things because you are a very easy target because you're just starting. You do not know what you need. You do not know where you are. So you'll spend money on a whole bunch of things that you're not ready for yet. The fourth thing I wish somebody told me before I started this whole publishing company thing is that it's okay to be a company of one. It's okay to be transparent and be you and be authentically you and not having to put on a face of being a large corporation or company. You do not need to follow the models of big corporations. You can still be just you, one person working hard. You can still do that selfie of yourself doing what it is you do. You can be yourself in whatever it is you're working on. As a black guy who is a creative, who make comic books and stories, when I first started this thing, I was afraid to show my face. I felt alone in this journey. There were other publishers that create their own work, but I felt like my stories were a little different. Mine didn't follow any type of stereotype. But whenever I put my picture, there was always an assumption that my work would be funny, or my work would be street, or would be just stereotypical in some manner because I was a black guy who wrote for comic books. And every time, whenever I showed my work, people were surprised because my work was different, was not what they expected, which is kind of sucky. I'm like, that really is horrible. But that was my experience. So that experience made me hide myself. I didn't want people to see me because I didn't want them to make assumptions and not buy my book because they were making assumptions about me or how the book was like, which in hindsight was ridiculous. I used to not like having pictures of myself, and I used to talk in this clinical company voice. But I realized one thing about doing that, and I changed when I started going to conventions, because I noticed that little black children, little black boys that looked like me when I was a little boy, little black girls who didn't know who had interest in writing comic books, they stopped at my booth and ran immediately. And they were excited to see me. And they were excited to talk to me about them writing comic books and them feeling so alone in their communities and with their friends because they felt like they were the only people that loved to do what they did. And when they saw me, it lit their eyes. And when I could refer to them to other artists who were black, who made stuff, it made them excited and happy. And I was like, I'm doing these kids a disservice hiding myself. They don't know who I am. I'm doing a disservice for the other black person out there, the other minority, that person that feel like there is no room for them to do things. I'm doing them a disservice by hiding. When they see me, they know it's possible. When they don't see me, there's no way for them to know. So that was a eye-opening moment for me. And I realized that I am not a corporation. I am me, and I have to put pictures of me. I have to talk about me. I have to talk about what I'm about. And that actually helped me a ton. Doing that actually made me have more business. It made me attractive to other people who may have not known. If I look generic, if I make myself generic, I have nothing to compete with. But I have unique life experiences that I can give in the stories that I create. And when you see who I am, then it makes you pause for a minute. It's like, oh, he has a unique experience. So that's something I'm willing to want to pay for and learn more. But when you see a generic company, you don't feel that same feeling. So those are the 4 things that I feel like divulging that I wish I knew before I started. I hope you find what I just said useful, or at the very least, interesting. If you have any more questions for me, please feel free to send me a message on social media. As you decide to share this podcast, just please write a little bit about yourself as you share the podcast. What are some things you wish somebody told you before you started doing whatever it is you are doing right now? Let us know. Be sure to tag me. I'll be more than happy to jump in and be part of the conversation with you. All right? So thank you again for listening to this episode of
Slow Down.
I hope to see you next time. Take care.